Hey guys, what is up? I am so excited to be here today with my guest. Her name is Clara Norfleet. She is a registered dietitian and personal trainer. She works as a clinical dietitian with patients who suffer from debilitating and chronic, but oftentimes preventable conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney disease, and even fatty liver disease. And she is very passionate about creating support and education to other people about the powerful healing processes that comes from our nutrition and our food, and just the gift of being able to steward our physical health. Not only that, she believes in the importance of overall health, which includes not only the physical, but our emotional, mental, and spiritual health as well. So she is here today to tell us her story and give some incredibly valuable information about nutrition and fitness so that we can thrive in our wellness journeys. So everyone, please welcome Clara.
Wow. First off, honestly, I am just like, I need that introduction to be recorded and just like read over my life every day. That was
Oh, thank
read to my website and use that introduction. That was like,
Yeah, I did. I checked out your website, so I got a lot of information from there. But yeah, and for anyone listening, go check out Clara's website because it's amazing.
well, thank you. And I'm glad that we get to talk today and such a fun opportunity just to connect with like minded people in the same space. And yeah,
Yes,
we're going to talk about.
absolutely. I'm so excited. I think we should just dive right in, and I would love to know how you got interested in nutrition and fitness.
Yeah. So I originally got an initial interest in nutrition and fitness really my junior year of high school. Um, it all kind of like stemmed from, I remember I was like hanging out with friends one night and ate what felt like to me like a whole sleeve of Oreos and just like woke up the next morning and I was like, I feel like I can feel better than this. And so that kind of spurred like the initial kind of research and looking into like the power of food in our nutrition and our food choices. I always grew up super active. I did like competitive gymnastics and cheerleading and tennis and ran track. Just was like a kid playing outside. So I was always kind of active in that instance. But yeah, the nutrition piece was just kind of a thing that was of interest to me honestly kind of out of nowhere. I don't know where it came from. I don't feel like I grew up. I mean, I guess we kind of all did grow up around diet culture, but it wasn't ever, I never felt like I had to diet or I never necessarily felt uncomfortable in my body up until like that one day. And I don't know really what clicked, but that was what spurred it. But then I ended up going to college. My undergrad degree. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be like a personal trainer or even a physical therapist. But then I think I went the like exercise physiology route. And there was a lot of science and biochem and physics, and I was like, not for me. Um, and then, kind of long story short, ended up going for dietetics my junior year of college. So, kind of roundabout got into like actual nutrition and I was like, yeah, this is it. I love it.
Yes. Yeah, I think we all have those moments where we just reevaluate like, man, I could really change things and feel better and, you know, just having those moments of how can I give myself that fuel.
Mhm.
And that's what I love about nutrition. That's what I've really fallen in love about it with is just the power that food does really have. And those moments in our life leads me to my next question. How did your relationship with nutrition and fitness change throughout the years? Did it change for you?
Yes, it has changed tremendously. So whenever I first got interested in nutrition, my junior year of high school, um, it was it was well intentioned initially. Like I wanted to get healthier, but then I look back and I'm like, I did not go about it the right way. I was like reading all of the fitness and health magazines of like the 1,200 calories a day diet and like, do this exercise for flat abs. Um, definitely went through a period of underfueling, overtraining, not necessarily intentionally. It just kind of happened that way. Um, had a good relationship with food and really fitness all the way up until that. And then I went to college and ended up using as more of like a comfort and turned it more as like emotional eating, binge eating, and my relationship with food kind of spiraled with that. And it took a long time to kind of dig myself out of that hole and kind of recreate a better, healthier, more positive relationship with all foods. And I think really over the last maybe like 5 to 7 years has been like the greatest transformation to where I am now, where I feel like I'm not perfect by any means, but have a much more like holistic, well-rounded, just positive, for lack of better words, relationship with food. And I can look back at where I've been through in my past, like I guess 10 years really, and can appreciate, where I was and what I have learned from each kind of season in that life, in my life, of how I have viewed food.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of us can get uh, kind of in that mindset of what we've been told over the years of, under eating, over exercising. I know I even, for a time, I just kind of thought that was the normal. I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of what the industry was all about. But now that I've had my training and my certifications, I see that that is flipped. And another thing that is really flipped for me was, incorporating more than just the nutrition and fitness. It was the mental and the spiritual. And I know that's also your story as well. So I would love to know, how has faith impacted your view and your relationship with nutrition and fitness?
Yeah, I think um honestly my faith and my relationship with Christ is what changed everything of how I viewed food and fitness. And that's really kind of what happened over the last like 5 to 7 years that I've seen. Um, I grew up in a Christian home. I was saved in sixth grade, was baptized, and um, started my relationship with Christ at that age and continued to grow and mature in my faith to the degree that I could as a middle schooler and a high schooler. Um, but then kind of fell off the wagon a little bit. Kind of got drawn to worldly ways and worldly beliefs in college and just wasn't as firm and as strong in my faith for myself. And so I can see that so clearly of I was using food as a coping mechanism, honestly, to deal with hard emotions or feeling left out or feeling unloved. Um, and kind of after college, I moved off to where I am now in Asheville, North Carolina. Didn't know a soul here. I moved here for my dietetic internship. And I really refer to it as kind of like my wilderness season. Like so often we see in the Bible, like they walk through a wilderness season. And that was really where they got to like meet God face to face. Um, and that is exactly what happened to me in Asheville. Like that, I really had to make my relationship with Christ, like my relationship with Christ. And with that, I learned like that's where my worth comes from. That's where my value is. That's where my identity is placed in. And changing my view of just like my identity and who I am, in turn, kind of like a snowball effect, I guess, changed how I related with food and we're related with fitness. So I was no longer turning to food for comfort. I wasn't like under fueling myself. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot of different things that go into it, but it's definitely my faith. I know without a doubt that changed my relationship with food and fitness for the better and continues to grow and change and improve. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I totally relate to that. For a long time, I always thought that the way I looked, really identified if I was going to be accepted in, the world. And I'm not good with rejection. So a lot of times that was my coping mechanism, was I wanted acceptance. And until I realized I already have it through Christ, and I don't need to look a certain way, be a certain way, and I don't need the approval of the people around me, which I love the people, or that's great, but he's the most first and foremost, and my worth doesn't come from anything else. That just changes everything, and I think that really sets us free, and our days can look really, you can look forward to your fitness and your nutrition, and it can be something you can be excited about. So, and I'd love to know. I follow a lot of, you have amazing like food recipes. Oh my gosh, all of your posts, I just mouth watering. So I'd love to know, what does a typical day look like for you now with your food and nutrition?
So I work at the hospital full time. So I do like a lot of meal prepping kind of, just because I'm there. I don't have the time to come home and like eat lunch or something. Um, Breakfast is usually something that I'll like kind of throw together usually at the beginning of the week and make like a baked oatmeal that I love, or like an egg casserole, um, smoothies, things like that are just kind of like quick and easy that I can grab and take with me. Lunches, I mean, they're pretty much whatever. They're honestly like not super elaborate in my opinion. I'm just like, it'll do. But something like this week, I'm having rotisserie chicken and roasted veggies. Um, Another favorite is like a burger bowl or a burger salad. So it's like a deconstructed hamburger. Um, what else? Like curries and stir fries and things like that. Things are just really easy and simple to throw together, but still a lot of really great nutrient dense foods. And then dinner is honestly kind of all across the board, depending on like what either I or what my husband Tyler wants. We'll do burgers. We love a good tater tot.
Oh yeah.
um, or curry. We'll make like homemade pizza, um, all kinds of stuff. So I'm kind of all across the board. I don't follow or hinge on like one diet approach per se.
Mhm.
Um, I do follow, me personally, more of like a gluten-free, dairy-free diet, but that's really just because of I have negative reactions when I eat them.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty much, whatever I'm in the mood for, I'll allow myself to eat, but then always coming back to knowing like, I can eat whatever I want. And I honestly related a lot to the verse in scripture that's like all things are permissible, but not all things are beneficial. And like, I mean, all foods are permissible. We can eat whatever we want.
Mhm.
And I can know that, but at the same time know that it's not always going to be beneficial for me. And I think that's something that we each have to kind of determine, in our own lives, what is beneficial for me in general, and then maybe even in this specific moment,
Mhm.
to weigh the options or the trade-offs, rather than just looking at food as like bad or good.
Yes, yeah, totally. I've seen a lot of information on that, about how we always look at at food as whether it's good or bad, but that can really play with our minds. And I think that it's like you said, the verse just explains it so well. I also found really helpful on your Instagram feed. You had something about kind of how to build your plate. So your proteins, fats, and your carbs, kind of picking from each category, and that's kind of how you can build your plates and your nutrition. And if you're really focusing on that, I find that for myself to be super simple. Taking the overwhelm out of nutrition is huge, because when you can simplify things, you're going to stick to it, and I think that that's so helpful. And if you're doing that, you're getting those nutrients. I think that there's nothing wrong with having those foods that, maybe you don't want to have too often, but you can still eat them, like, your Oreos. You can still eat Oreos.
Absolutely. I honestly, I'm like, obviously, the one gospel I'm professing is that of Jesus Christ, but I'm like, also the nutrition gospel of the plate method, guys. Like, this is it.
Yes.
It,
Yes.
it literally just like takes the brain work out of everything. And
Yeah.
people are, even the patients I see in the hospital, I talk about them with this plate method approach a lot of filling half your plate with veggies, and then the other half is kind of broken down between your carbs, your protein, and your fat. And I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, you can just, you know, pick a food from each part of that plate and throw it all together. Like, it doesn't have to be elaborate and
Yeah.
like it doesn't have to be hard. And there's nothing wrong with making, super fancy meals and putting a lot of like time and thought into the plating and everything. But at the end of the day, we just want to be fed and nourished and feel good.
Yeah.
And we, super simple.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping it simple is just so good. And I'd love to know what would be your first piece of advice for those who are getting started. Like I had mentioned, I think that sometimes we can just take it into overwhelm. We're like, where do we even start? What do we do? Like, how do I even manage this? So what would you say for those people who are maybe overwhelmed or, just getting started on their journey?
Well, I always kind of revert back to like making sure that your motives are pure. Um, and that's not necessarily like an action to take, but it is something to kind of keep in mind as you continue to take actions forward of like, why are you wanting to, eat protein at every meal? Like, why is that important to you on a grander scale? Rather than just like, well, I want to eat protein so that I can lose weight. Well, why do you want to lose weight? Get to that kind of deeper why.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but really, I think, if there's like a first action I recommend most people take, it's eating more fruits and veggies. um, because most Americans don't eat enough. I think like maybe, I think it's like 3 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. I can't remember, but it's a sad percentage of people that don't eat enough fruits and veggies. And
Yeah.
rather than looking at what you have to take away or restrict, I'm like, what can we add to what you're eating that will add nutrition, will add value, will add micronutrients, and it will eventually crowd out space for those foods that aren't as nutrient dense. Um, of course, you can still eat them, but if we're looking to make healthy changes to what you're eating, what can we add? It's much easier. Like our minds like that addition better than being restricted from things. So
Yes, that is such great advice. I love that. And also, too, you had mentioned adding fruits and veggies. You had made a post the other day on your stories that someone was given advice not to have fruit. And my mind was blown that that was even something that's even a thing. I, the fruits and vegetables just have so much to give. Like, obviously, like you had mentioned, extremes of anything isn't good, but I mean, fruits and veggies, you can't go wrong.
I feel like we have bigger fish to fry than like telling people that they can't eat fruit. Like, what about the refined carbohydrates? What about the sugary sweet beverages that like the majority of Americans are drastically over consuming? And here we are, focused and fixated on eating too much fruit. Yeah,
Yeah.
or how that like the media or just I don't know what it is. Diet culture. I hate kind of using the term diet culture because it seems kind of vague, but
Mhm.
how we just get these like random recommendations and we run with them and then we're like,
Mhm.
why am I so scared to eat a banana? Like it's a banana.
Yeah.
So valid. Like people are just so confused and
Yeah.
not how to tune into like to crowd out the noise and just tune into what feels good for their body and their
Mhm.
mind, their soul. So it's kind of again coming back to that whole like holistic view of health, more than just your physical health. It's your mental, your emotional, your physical health. It all comes together.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I I agree so much, and I think that knowledge is power too, and for those who there are so many messages nowadays online, you know, n- taking that knowledge to like licensed professionals such as yourself and asking those questions, saying, hey, I saw this, do you think that is something that's true, or however it is, getting that knowledge under your belt so that you are confident in making those decisions, so that you're not listening to all of the messages that do come at us. and making those decisions to really help and enhance your health.
Yeah. I
So,
think, yeah, I mean, there's so much information out there. And a lot of it, I feel like a lot of like professionals are trying to combat the less than helpful recommendations. And so they're providing even more information and recommendations, science backed, advice and stuff. But it can still be a lot because with health and even with nutrition, it's such like a young part of the field. Like if you compare it to chemistry's been around forever. Nutrition is still like we're learning so much, we're growing and we're evolving. And so the information is always going to be growing and evolving, and it can just be overwhelming. There's things to consider for hormone health, but then there's other things to consider, like if you are into high intensity exercise and like, well, what if I have kidney problems, or what if I want to try intermittent fasting? I mean, there's just so many different approaches
mhm.
to nutrition, and none of them are necessarily bad. We just have to know how to um, take them and use them in our life, or to put them aside if we know that they're not going to serve us, even though, maybe it's working for your coworker.
Yep, exactly. Really tuning into what our needs are and, what serves us best.
Yeah.
Hmm. Can I add another question? Okay. My question that I'm going to ask you is how you find nutrition and fitness and how they go together, the power of it, because I never truly understood how well they go together until I took my certifications. So I'd love if you would kind of talk about that, how fitness and nutrition really go hand in hand.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I feel like I could talk about this, like I could take it so many different ways. But I feel like one thing that I think about is like when we combine food and fitness together, our body just works in so much better harmony. Like it's meant to move, and our foods are meant to fuel our core movement. And of course, other things, we eat so that our brain works and that our heart beats and such. But um, combining the food and fitness together, I think it just really upgrades and elevates our quality of life, and how they kind of partner with each other. Like, if you're wanting to train for a marathon or you're trying to hit a PR in the gym, you can only do that so well, if you're only focusing on fitness. If you're not focusing on refueling your body and fueling your body appropriately, hydration and even sleep, which I know is not nutrition related, but um, you gotta put gas in the tank if you want the car to run like it should.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I think that's really what I have learned over the last, when I got my certification 2 years ago. Um, and just even kind of comparing in hindsight to how I viewed food and fitness before. Like, I mean, fitness is even just much more enjoyable now that I am fueling my body adequately. I can show
Mhm.
up, feel like a beast at the gym because you are fueled, and so you can run farther, or you can sprint faster, or you can lift heavier. And it's super empowering, honestly, like to wake up in the morning, be like, I feel so ready to crush my workout. Like, I don't know, it's super empowering. I think that's the only way I can put it. And then even just like understanding kind of the biochemical aspect of it, of even something as simple as like, you eat something and then going on a 5 to 10 minute walk after that will actually help your body utilize your carbs better, for energy, rather than just like sitting in your bloodstream. And so again, you can kind of see how it's all connected.
Mhm.
Um, and so I just think it's so cool how everything works together and how the Lord designed it that way.
Yes. Oh, so true. So true. So the last question I would like to ask you is, for those who, now this is from even my history. I remember the restriction and stuff is being afraid of calories. And now that I know that I can look at food as we had talked about as fuel. I mentioned that so much in what I do now too is fuel. How do we shift that? How do we shift our mindset around calories and not be so afraid of them?
Mm. Yeah. I mean, at the basic level, calories are energy, and so they provide our body with energy. And you can think of it kind of like a bank account, like energy in versus energy out. And that can get super, people get kind of like, ooh, I don't know, like, counting calories, calories in, calories out. Rather than focusing on that, can we focus on like the quality of those calories and even breakdown of those calories, looking at your macronutrients, your protein, your fat, your carbohydrates. Each of those macronutrients play a particular role in your body. And so, yeah, sure, if you want to follow a 1500 calorie diet, you could do that by eating, 100 calorie snack packs of 1500 calories a day, and maybe you'll lose weight. Or if you spread that 1500 calories between different foods, maybe some like eggs and avocado and toast and a big salad with grilled salmon, and then maybe you went out to dinner and had a burger and fries or something. Just kind of understanding that calories are just one piece of the puzzle. They're not totally irrelevant, because I mean they are important to know and have that knowledge of and that awareness of. But it's more than just calories. It's looking at your macronutrients and also your micronutrients. Your zinc and your magnesium and your calcium and your potassium, all of those things that support the processes in your body working like they should. Um, they those is just really as important, in my opinion, as your calorie intake alone.
Yeah.
You know, kind of relating back to that car analogy, I don't know, this might be totally off, but it just came to me. Like, if calories maybe are the gas we put in our tank, then maybe like your micronutrients are the oil change helps it
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Something that we overlook sometimes. We're like, oh, let my oil change go for a month. But then your car doesn't start working like it should, even though it is getting, the gas, the calories it needs. So I
Yeah.
hope that made sense. I feel like it does.
Oh,
But
so good. So good. Look, perfect answer. Like so good, so valuable. So so thankful for the knowledge that you have shared today. I would love for you to tell my audience where they can find more from you.
yes, well, you can follow me on Instagram at Food, Fitness, and Faith. And my website is claranorfleet.com. I have not like infused those both together. So Food, Fitness, and Faith on Instagram, claranorfleet.com.
Perfect. And I highly encourage all of you to go check her out. So encouraging. And I want to thank you so much, Clara, for joining me today and offering all of the information that you did to my audience. I know it is going to bless them, and I'm so thankful. So I appreciate your time.
Yes, I appreciate your time, and just thank you for reaching out and offering this opportunity just to chat and connect. And I know your audience, they're very fortunate to have you, putting in the work to do this podcast and having people on and sharing your wisdom and other people's wisdom. So thank you, honestly.
Uh,
Anyone doing
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for everyone who listened today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Be sure to check out the links. I will leave everything down below for you to check out. And until next episode.